fairy magic
Holy shit.
is linked to emotion. Love, hatred, fear.
Fate, the Winx Saga, has quickly become a popular drama among teens. The reason is simple. Who doesn't like the idea of a Harry Potter story set in a fairy world? It's clear that we just can't get enough of the series. It brought on a dark side to all our favorite characters as they gradually discover that there is a mysterious and evil history buried behind the magical college, Alfea. Since the release of its first season, fans have been talking, exchanging theories, and just trying to make sense of the last events of Season 1. In this video, we will be explaining the last season's events and also share some interesting theories for the second season. You should know that this video contains major spoilers for Season 1, so if you haven't seen it, you should definitely skip this video now. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. Let's dive right into the action. Fate, the Winx Saga, Season 1 plot. The Fate Winx Saga follows the story of Bloom, a fairy who has fire powers. She then enrolls in a boarding school of magic called Alfea College of the Otherworld. In this college, she meets Stella, a fairy whose powers are associated with light, Elisha, a fairy associated with water, Terra, earth, and Muse, a mind fairy. As expected, these individuals become friends and they all come together to help Bloom learn about her past. At the same time, some very ancient and dangerous creatures called the Burned Ones return to the Otherworld, and they begin threatening everyone studying at Alfea, and also want to kill Bloom. Interestingly, Bloom must also learn to control her powers and be able to use them to protect her loved ones. The show, which was first released in January, is a live-action adaptation of Nickelodeon's Winx Club of 2004. Furthermore, the first season was quite a ride, featuring questionable friends, simultaneous stories, and even a shaky romance, so it is important that we explore some of the plot holes that you might have missed. Let's quickly take a look at some of the very obvious plot holes in the first season. The fireproof clothes of Bloom. We quite understand that Bloom is a fire fairy, a power which gives her the ability and luxury to play with fire in ways we can only dream of. She is able to make fire with her hands. However, there's a huge problem with this. In one of the scenes, we see her push herself to the limit, and this causes her to unleash her powers in ways she never imagined. At the same time, we see the flames around her getting bigger and bigger as she traps more into the dragon flame inside of her soul. However, in all of this, even as the fire engulfs everything around her, it does not burn her clothes. Of course, you might not even remember this while watching the scene, but once you do, it's hard to overlook. There has to be some pretty good explanation for this. Bloom's control of her powers. From the first episode of the show, we are made to understand a very fundamental fact. Bloom loses control of her powers every time she suffers a mental meltdown. This makes sense, considering the fact that she is just learning to use her powers. A perfect example is when she fought with her mom and almost burned the house down. In another scene, she's training with Elisha one second and being really dangerous in the next. But it becomes quite confusing after Beatrix tells her about the people being killed at Asterdell. In fact, she does not even lose her ability to control herself after hearing that this genocide was done by the faculty. But it gets even more confusing. The faculty comes from Beatrix and grabs her for interrogation. In protest, Bloom tries to protect her friend, but she is held down. She shouts and struggles with every muscle in her body, but she emits or releases no flame of any kind. Why was that so? The return of Andreas. Andreas is the father of Sky and is known as a war hero at the college. However, Sky discovers that he was not a hero, but a genocidal maniac that wasn't any different from Rosalind. While still in the field, Silva had tried to kill him, but Andreas appears at the season finale looking as if he had not been in any fight. However, this event is completely nonsensical and just a result of poor writing. While Rosalind was getting her strength back at Solaria with Queen Luna, it would have made sense for the faculty to go and find the body of Andreas. Also, if Silva had noticed that there was no body of Andreas at the place where they fought, he would have guessed that something was wrong. But the show totally ignores the fact that Silva might want to give his best friend the send-off he probably does not deserve. Now that we've explored some plot holes in the first season, let's break down the ending of Season 1. Season 1 ending explained. Fate the Winx Saga ended with an interesting cliffhanger. Rosalind, alongside Queen Luna and Andreas, takes over the school after brutally killing headmistress Dowling. We also discover that Andreas is alive, after being thought to be dead for the better part of the season. Before this final scene, we also see Bloom finally learn how to use and control her powers, and even how to tap into her inner strength, which makes it possible for her to sprout wings. Even though she uses her strength to overcome the Burned Ones, she would need the same strength to face Rosalind and her friends in the second season. Furthermore, Rosalind, Queen Luna, and Andreas will no doubt want to train the students in preparation for the Solarian army. This naturally puts Bloom and her friends in danger, and this moment marks the end of their childhood, the moment where they all have to stand and fight for themselves. But here's some information you might have missed out on. According to Looper, Bloom and Beatrix had been taken from the same village when they were infants, the village of Asterdale. But while Beatrix is from this village, Bloom isn't. As an infant, many witches had seen the potential in her, and they of course wanted the powers for themselves. These blood witches had taken Bloom to the village as a child in a bid to harness her magic for their own profit. Rosalind eventually rescues Bloom from these witches, but not with the best of intentions. She knew the young girl had powers, and she wanted to weaponize these powers in her favor. You would also remember that Rosalind burned the village of Asterdale to the ground, and did everything within her power to stop Bloom from discovering the truth about her past. But Bloom's adamance pushes her to discover that she had been kidnapped as a child, and that her birth parents are still alive. Now, she must defeat Rosalind and find her parents against all odds. One of the best things the first season of the show has done is to lay a very good foundation for a second season. For example, with a very certain showdown between Bloom and her friends and the new Alfea College management, we are sure we would be getting a season 2 filled with action. Which brings us to the second part of the video. What are some interesting theories about season 2? Netflix officially announced a second season for the show in February, and with the way the first season ended, we're quite sure the second season will be answering some very important questions. Here are some quite interesting theories about the next season. Rosalind will terrorize the college for a while. This is a given fact since Rosalind has now taken over the Alfea College. For now, the only major opposition she would face would come from Bloom and her friends, who I must admit aren't strong enough to face Rosalind yet, as they still have a lot to learn. Also, she killed Headmistress Dowling, which means that we can rule her out of the fight for now. This is because anything can happen at this school, but whatever happens, Rosalind is not going to leave without a fight. Sky will reunite with his father. During the finale of the first season, Sky had to deal with a lot. First, he discovered that his father was not dead. He then found out that Silva was the one who had tried to kill his father. Silva was also arrested by the Solarian army for attempted murder, all of which creates a dilemma for Sky. This raises the question, will he try to save Silva, a man who has been like a mentor and father figure to him? Or would he forgive him for trying to kill his father? Fans want to believe that Sky will go for the latter decision, since he never actually had an actual dad. Sky might get overwhelmed with the fact that he now has an actual father and would want to catch up with him. This will then naturally push him to want to build a working relationship with Andreas, thereby destroying his relationship with Silva. But there could be another twist to it. Sky could become quite angry that his father left him all these years, in spite of the fact that he has been alive all along. This could cause an irreparable rift between father and son. The Winx girls will fight to take down the Solarians. Now that Bloom has more information about her past, her hate for Rosalind has reached an all-time high. Also, Rosalind and the Solarians are planning to take over the college, as this would make it easier for them to add numbers to their growing army. But since the girls know about Rosalind and her evil agenda, they are surely going to put up a fight to protest this change. However, as mentioned earlier, the girls might just not be ready for a fight against Rosalind and the Solarians. For now, all we can do is wait for the new season to confirm or destroy these theories. And with that, we wrap up this video. Thank you for watching.